Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about lessons learned from the World Shoot 2025. So those of you who looked at my last video will know that I got home on Wednesday this week after being away for about 2.5 weeks. And my focus now is to prioritize the next World Shoot, which is in Italy in 2029. So how do we go about doing that? Well, first of all, as I said, I arrived home Wednesday. Thursday morning, I was in with my osteopath to start rehabilitating the injuries that I've had for the last 2 years. I'm definitely going to take my time over that. I've got one more major shoot this year, which is in November. And depending how I am with that rehabilitation, I may or may not attend the shoot. I'm certainly not going to go and get myself injured again by pushing it too early. Next thing I need to do is to assess my performance. And we have to bear in mind that the World Shoot is the Olympic Games of performance shooting. So it's the best possible place to assess your performance on demand. There's no other shoot, with provincials, nationals, another international shoot, which has the gravitas of the World Shoot and has the pressure on you to perform. So it really is the best place to measure yourself. Third thing is, once I've assessed my performance, is to plan my training. There's no point just going out there and training, doing whatever you feel like. Most people just go and train what they're good at. What you need to do is assess properly and structure your training according to your needs. So your needs are gained through a performance assessment, and that also has to be prioritized. The performance assessment is to assess all the major aspects of your shooting and to prioritize them from worst to best. Why worst to best? Well, quite simply, I need to put more time into doing what I'm worst at than I do at what I'm best at. So I'll be identifying those areas where I need work, and from there I will apply the appropriate amount of time to those areas of my training. So in the performance assessment, what I'm not going to do is assess myself against my peers. There's absolutely no point assessing myself against people who are the same or close to my level of performance, because then what will happen is you'll see one aspect of the shooting, it'll be a little bit different, but it's not too far off. You might see another aspect of your shooting which might be actually better than the other person's. What I need to do is I need a really stark contrast in terms of what I'm good at and what I'm not so good at. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to compare myself to the best of the best. I'm going to be looking at my videos, which I got on pretty much every shoot of the match, compared to the videos that were taken by people like Mason Lane, who's just won the World Championship, other people you might know from social media, Isaac Lockwood, Tom Castro, and so on and so forth. Because if I'm lacking in one area against the best of the best, it's really going to show. And I fully expect that some of these performances of mine compared to theirs are not going to be pretty. But that's going to tell me where I am. And what I have to do is do it in a way that's applicable to me. Because, as I mentioned before, I'm a senior now. I'm going on to super seniors for the next World Shoot. So I can't expect to be able to do what guys who are in their prime, in their 20s and 30s are able to do. But it will give me a good idea of where I need to work. So what am I going to look at? Well, I break down my assessment into 4 major parts. The first is the presentation, the draw and reload. The second is the cadence of my shots. How quickly I'm putting 2 shots on a target compared to its difficulty, i.e. how close is it, how small is it, and so on and so forth. Thirdly is transition time between my targets. And this is where you gain a lot of time. How quickly am I moving between the targets after I've put my last shot on the first target onto my first shot on the second target? And that's an area where I may be accurate enough and fast enough on the targets, but I might not be aggressive enough transversing between the two. And lastly is movement. And the sport has changed significantly over the last 20 years, where it's very, very much more movement based and not quite as much shooting based. So I fully expect to find shortfalls in my movement, and as I mentioned before, I came into this injured, so it was never going to be as good as it could have been. So let's take a look at some videos. We're going to break them down. I've basically put one person's video over the top of mine on one screen, and we can compare where I am on each part of the shoot from beginning to end.